It's 5 minutes before sprint planning and your devs are about to head into the meeting room. Sprint planning? What a waste of time. Yeah, I haven't seen our product manager all week. Now we have to spend 2 hours explaining to her why that feature won't work? Come on. Yeah, they really don't get it. I wish I could just code. Or in an alternate universe. Hey, you got that demo ready for sprint planning? Yeah, our product manager is gonna love it. I also have a new idea for a feature I think she might like, and maybe she'll run it by the business. Right on, tell me how the customer lab went. We might even change what feature we build next. Hey, I'm Garrett. Welcome to the channel Risky Business, where we deep dive into what makes the best products and product managers. Today, we're talking about what you can do to become that second product manager, the one the devs love working with. We're gonna lay out 5 specific things you can do immediately to start becoming that hero. So let's dive in. Before we get to the how, let's talk about the why. Here's why you want to be the product manager that developers love. First, it helps you create a high-performing team. And most importantly for you, it creates a better atmosphere for everyone. When a product manager is part of the team, not just the person dictating work, there's a mutual respect and appreciation. Take rowing crews, for example. A crew that views the coxswain as just the guy who yells at us to do work is going to row way worse than a team that values and respects their coxswain. The coxswain's got an important job and everyone knows it. Specifically, they know that when she says to lean in, it's time to lean in and get it done. Not just because she says so, but because everyone knows it's good for the group. Teams that like each other better are more cohesive, more powerful, and accomplish way more than a team where devs feel like they're begrudgingly building feature after feature. These teams are also much more likely to retain talent over time. Beyond that, do you want to work on a team where your devs resent spending time with you and dread having to bend to the perspective that you have to offer? It's not a good look and leads to the team rowing different directions. Secondly, it helps prevent getting the runaround on building the product. When you have a good relationship with a dev team, they're going to be a lot more honest and transparent about what they're building and how they're building it. Every product manager has probably experienced the, hey, can you change the color on the header bar? Man, no way, it's gonna take 2 to 3 months from the team. It seems easy, but...
How much refit time till we can take her out again?
8 weeks, sir. But you don't have 8 weeks, so I'll do it for you in 2.
Mr. Scott, have you always multiplied your repair estimates by a factor of 4?
Certainly, sir. How else can I keep my reputation as a miracle worker?
Obviously that's an exaggeration, but this sort of thing happens all the time. When devs don't trust their product manager, an antagonistic relationship between giving estimates and asking for work can develop, where the team is trying to come up with as much BS excuses as possible to insulate and protect their time, and you're left figuring out if that 900-point estimate is in dog years. Having a team that trusts you, that you can be confident in without micromanaging, prevents this toxicity from even starting to develop. This also helps with times when devs might need to work on technical debt. In this case, it can be less toxic and more just a matter of personal pride or preference. We all know that dev that wants to work on tech debt no matter what. The lure of endless refactoring. It can always be done better. As a product manager, we know we need to strike a balance between slowing down to speed up and sometimes just getting the feature out. Building the trust and respect we're talking about in this video will help facilitate these conversations and help both parties get right to the point and be honest with each other. And number 3, finally, it helps turn everyone on the team into a mini PM. This improves the quality of your product and makes the devs more connected to the business through you. Developers that are more connected to the end customer of your product are simply going to make better decisions. As a developer building software throughout their day, they're making hundreds of tiny decisions, each which may impact the customer. When they're in sync with you, the line of communication is wide open and everyone understands the purpose, mission, and vision of the product. Devs can't help but take ownership of the product. Each of those decisions will then be that much more informed and correct, raising the overall quality of your product. These good decisions can eliminate feedback cycles, speed up delivery, and as a product manager, I love when my devs surprise me with a call they made on their own that then shows up in a demo. This is like getting an extra side of guac in my burrito bowl. Instead of having to give constructive or negative feedback to make a change, burning more dev hours and potentially hurting feelings, we skip that whole step and keep getting things in front of the customer. Additionally, when devs feel like champions of the product, they can't help but be excited about your product to others, as well as taking feedback back to the product. Your team all becomes mini-me's, and mini PMs helping to build the best product. Awesome, now you know the why. Let's get into the how so you can become the product manager that devs love. So the first thing you want to do is become the champion of the product. In many ways, being a champion for your product is the #1 thing that product managers are supposed to do. You know why your product's cool, you know its potential, and you care about those customers. You're used to selling it both to your customers, partners, stakeholders, and the executives of your company. But are you selling it to your team? This seems obvious, but it's surprised how often it's overlooked by product managers. Sometimes the mundane day-to-day of getting work done gets in the way and obscures the vision of your product for the team. Don't let this happen. Take every opportunity you can to remind your team that what they're working on is cool and impactful. Don't just tell the team what to build, sell it to them. Bring them in actively and ask for their perspective. You have to justify your decision about what to build to your stakeholders. Do it again with your delivery team. In demos, remind the team that the feature that they're demoing, that they're proud that they built, will make an impact to your customers. And when you get feedback on the product from user experience labs or customer feedback or otherwise, share that with the team. Remind them that what they're building is real and tangible. When you have these product epiphanies or change direction or learn something new about the product, don't just file it away in the back of your head. Share it with the team and keep them in lockstep with your thought process. And then lastly, are your team ceremonies able to support regular review of your product vision and direction? Do you have enough opportunities to share with the team how you're designing your roadmap and thinking about the future of the product? Because if not, maybe it's time to make some changes and schedule some intentional time to sell your own product to your team. The greatest gift you can give to your team is the belief that they're working on something awesome. Who's better equipped to give that gift than the product manager? Point number 2, no BS. This one's pretty simple. Just don't bullshit your team. As a product manager, sometimes we have to get a little closer to the bullshit than we like. The world in which our products get made isn't always a pure one. Whether it's pressure from stakeholders, a horrible bureaucratic outcome, some nasty politics, or any other strange circumstance, sometimes we have to frame what we're building in an exaggerated light. Don't do this with your team. Be real with them and they'll appreciate it. They often know the inner workings of the product anyway, and much better than you do, and they'll sniff out bullshit a mile away. So be real with your team and they'll return the favor. Point number 3, it's us against the world. There's always going to be your team and those who are out to get you. It's either your competitors in the market, nefarious forces from within your own company, like the bureaucracies I mentioned previously, dependencies that never seem to pull their own weight, confused and out of touch sponsors, the list goes on. Your job as a product manager is to protect the team from this noise, throw some bows out there, identify the value, cut through the junk, and set up the pins for your team to knock them down. Remember that scene in Gladiator when Russell Crowe pulls together all the gladiators to work together when they're facing certain death? Well, sometimes developers can feel like those gladiators, out on their own, fighting against garbage code and unclear requirements. So be the Maximus that pulls them in under the same banner. And don't hide the fact that you're doing this from the team. Let them know that every day when you're in endless meetings, you're looking out for them, dodging bullets and advocating for the team's time and ensuring that you're all doing cool things. I mean, you don't need to be melodramatic about it, like, oh, I'm working so hard to make sure the team is doing good things, but also don't silently slave away clearing the jungle for the team. Stand-ups are a great time to share what you're dealing with the team clearly, succinctly, and without fuss. And point number 4, get a little techie with it. Developers choose to be developers because coding is fun and technology is badass. Well, it also pays bank. But that's besides the point. I don't know what led you to become a product manager, but chances are you know less technology than your delivery team does. Regardless of whether you came from the dev side of the house or from the business side, it's always a good move to show your interest in what your devs are doing. So sit down with them and ask some questions about how things work under the hood. Not only will you build a relationship and show respect to your team, but you'll learn something as well. Stay humble and don't try to seem like the techie PM or like you know it all. Just ask questions, give compliments, and identify what the person you're working with is proud of or interested in. And as a word of warning, be careful not to distract your developers or pull them off the tasks they really love. Pay close attention. Are they enjoying explaining this to you, or are they resentfully going over the architecture? Demos can be a great time to ask specific questions if you're unsure, or maybe even schedule a regular time for technology reviews. Everyone likes to show off work that they're proud of. Give your team a chance and really take the time to get into their workflow. It's like an internal product Gemba. And point number 5, don't push buttons. Unfortunately, it's all too common in the industry for people to have been part of toxic teams or companies that don't respect work-life balance or generally meh work environments. Each person has their unique set of sensitivities and hot buttons. Maybe they had that product manager in the past that was extremely pushy and rude. Maybe they only had PMs that dictated work and didn't listen to feedback. The list goes on. When you add all these individuals up, you get a team and your own special set of potential landmines. This is even more common for developers and engineers who have extremely particular ways that they like to get their highly cognitive work done. Do you have any experience with a particularly picky dev? I'd love to hear about it and how you work with them down in the comments below. Part of the art of working on a team and being an effective product manager is being able to adapt and dodge these landmines, having a high EQ, and generally just not be an ass. Here's a story from my past. On one of my product delivery teams, I had a senior dev he was fantastic, but had worked in a pretty toxic environment his whole career. One thing that really keyed him off was any attempt to solicit an estimate from him. He'd instantly snap, well, if I knew how much time it would take, I would know exactly how to do it, and if I knew that, then the work would already be done. I'll discover the work by doing it. No amount of assuring him that his estimate of effort wasn't a contract and he wouldn't be held accountable for it, or it's not plus or minus 100%, would satisfy him. It was always an intense issue for him. I had a choice. I could either double down and force him to provide estimates, or find a way around it. I opted for the second option, and here's why. There's no inherent value in having estimates. They're a tool, they're a means to an end of helping a product manager estimate the potential costs of implementing a feature and helping a team plan for the work that they need to do. So I look for other ways to accomplish that without estimates, and maybe that'll be a topic for another video. In the end, we built a lot of trust in those following months, and soon enough, that troublesome senior developer was comfortable providing me estimates because, hey, you get it, man, and you understand estimates don't mean anything really. Even though I had been saying that since day one, I had to build the trust to get there, and doing so required not pushing the buttons just because I was right.
Starfleet captains are like children. They want everything right now, and they want it their way.
Yeah, well, I told the captain I'd have this analysis done in an hour.
How long would it really take? An hour? Oh, you didn't tell him how long it would really take, did you?
Well, of course I did.
Oh, laddie, you've got a lot to learn if you want people to think of you as a miracle worker.
In the end, by putting people over the process, you build trust and come up with something better together anyway. Well, there you have it, 5 tips for building those relationships with developers and becoming everyone's favorite product manager. If you like these tips, I'd love it for you to hit that like button and subscribe down below. If you particularly like this one, drop a comment and we can do another top 5 tips. So that's all for today. Get out there and keep making great stuff. Garrett out.